Do you know what is matrix, how to create matrix, how memory allocation works in matrix, and what are the applications of matrix? If your answer is no, then my friend, this video is for you. Hi guys, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster, and in this video I am going to talk about matrix. So please watch this video till the end. So let's get started. Alright, let's begin this video with the very first question, that is, what is matrix? Well, in simple terms, matrix is a multi-dimensional arrays. So in order to understand multi-dimensional aspects of arrays, first we have to understand what is array, right? Although I assume that you already know array, but let me recall it once more for you. Array is a single dimensional linear data structure. So what does it mean by single dimensional and linear? It is simple. In linear data structure, we organize data in a sequential manner. That is why we call it linear data structure. And why do we call it single dimensional? Because we can only traverse this data structure in only one direction, either from left to right or right to left. Now here you can see that this is an array. And there are 5 elements in this array, okay? And if you know, in Java, arrays are objects. It means this array is an object, but this object contains 5 elements. And all these 5 elements are primitive data structure, okay? And there is one more interesting property of array, that array stores all the data in a contiguous memory location. Got it? So this is all about arrays. Now, moving on. What happens if we remove this primitive data structure and store non-primitive data structure, that is array itself? So if we do so, then we got multi-dimensional arrays. If you look at this diagram, here we have just replaced the primitive data types with non-primitive data type, that is array itself, okay? And we already know that arrays are objects. So in place of primitive data types, now we are storing array objects. And these array objects contains primitive data structures. You can see here 1, 2 and 3. And you can notice that now we can traverse this structure vertically as well as horizontally. This means if I want to access 3, then we have to traverse vertically first from 0 index to 1 index, and from 1 index to 0, 1, 2 index to access element 3. And because of this property, we call it multi-dimensional arrays. And to make it simple, we simply call it matrix. So basically, matrix is a multi-dimensional array. As you can see over here, this was the single dimensional array and this is the multi-dimensional array. Alright, now there is one another way to understand multi-dimensional array or matrix. So if I redraw this diagram, then the diagram would look like this. And you can see here, we still have indexes 0, 1, 2 horizontally and vertical index. But we can call it rows and we can call these indexes as columns. So we can also say that matrix or multidimensional arrays are collection of rows and columns. So I hope by now you understood what is meant by multidimensional arrays and why we call it matrix. So now let's move on to the next section of this video, and that is how to create matrices. So in Java, there are 2 ways to create matrix. So you can see here, this is the first way to create matrix. So in this syntax, we have just initialized a variable a by placing 2 square brackets in front of it to define that it is a multidimensional arrays. And in between square brackets, we have not mentioned the size of array, because in this syntax, Java doesn't allow us to mention the size of the array. It automatically infers the size of array by looking at the given array. And we have given an array with 3 objects, okay? This is our first object, this is second object, and this is third object. And this object in itself is a array. And this array again contains 3 elements. All these are primitive data structure. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8, 9. So this was the first way to create an array in Java. Now let's move on to next syntax. So the next syntax to create arrays in Java is like this. Here we are initializing a variable a is equal to new int 3 and 3. So in this syntax we are using new keyword. Why? Because arrays are objects and we create new objects using new keyword. And here you can see that now we have mentioned size of array as 3 and 3 between 2 square brackets. That means we want to create an array of size 3 cross 3. This means 3 rows and 3 columns, or other way to say this, arrays of 3 objects, and the inner array is also of size 3. So this syntax is going to create an array for us in the memory and allocate memory for it and assign the value of 0 to all the elements, because the default value of integer in Java is 0. So this was the second way to create arrays. So we saw 2 ways to create arrays. First, using this syntax where it automatically infers the size of arrays using the given array, and in second syntax we are giving explicitly size to create an array. So by now you understood that how to create matrix, meaning the multidimensional arrays. Okay, now let's move on to the next section of this video, that is how memory allocation works in multidimensional arrays. So in order to understand how memory allocation works, first we have to understand 3 things. Number 1, that arrays are objects in Java and objects are stored in heap memory. Okay, and next thing is arrays elements are stored in contiguous memory location. Okay, so now we understood how arrays are stored and how elements of arrays are stored. So let's move on and understand how memory allocation works in arrays, multidimensional arrays. So here we have array, okay, and here we have 3 more arrays. So these arrays are stored on heap and the address of these arrays are stored in this array, meaning at first position the address of these arrays is stored, on second position the array of this array is stored, and on a third position the array of these arrays is stored. And the elements of these arrays are stored in contiguous memory location. And where does it store? Simple, it is stored on heap memory, right? Because arrays are stored on heap memory. As simple as that. So long story short, this array stores references of this array in place of its elements. Okay, I hope you got it. Now here comes the really interesting part. That is, it is not compulsory to always store all the arrays of same size. This means we can store all the arrays with multiple size. As you can see here that I have stored one array of size 1 and second array of size 2 and third array of size 3. Yes, this is allowed in Java, and we call this type of array jagged arrays. Yes, the name is also interesting. So by now you understood that how memory allocation works in array. Now moving on to next part, that is how to access elements of matrix. Obviously, if we are creating matrix, then obviously we have to access the elements of matrix. How we do it? Let's see it. So just like in arrays, what happens if this is the array? Okay, and how we access the elements of this array? We simply write a square bracket by passing the index of array, and we get the element on that index. As simple as that. If I pass 1 to it, we get 2 because 2 is present on index 1. This is how we do in arrays. So the same concept is used in multidimensional arrays. So here we have jagged array. Okay, let's say I want to access 1. Then what do? We write a square bracket passing the index of first array. Okay, that is 0. And then again we write a square bracket and by passing the index of the inner array, that is this array. So 0 of 0 means we are accessing first row of first column and we get the element that is 1. Similarly, if I want to access 2, then we have to write a 1 1 and we get the element as 2 because 2 present in the first index of this array and the first index of the inner array. Similarly, if I want to access this element that is 3, we have to write a 2 2 that gives the element 3 because the 3 exists in the second index of the first array and the second index of the inner array. So this is how we access elements of matrix. So now you also understood how to access elements of array. So let's move on to the most interesting part of this video, and that is why are we learning matrix? What problem it solves? And what are the applications of matrix? So there are numerous applications of matrix, and out of all the applications I have listed few applications here. So let's talk about this. So the number 1 application of matrix is images. Yes, you heard that right. Images are nothing but a matrix of pixels, and you can see images all over the places that are nothing but matrix of pixels. And talking about the operations we generally performed on images, we usually do rotations of images like left rotate and right rotate. Okay, so what we are actually doing there, we are actually rotating matrix. Yes, we are rotating matrix whenever we rotate images. So this is the first application of matrix. Now moving on to next application, that is digital boards. So whenever we travel through airplane or railways, we see this type of boards hanging all over the places. And these boards are nothing but an application of matrices. If you observe this board, you will see that there are multiple dots on the board. And these boxes are nothing but rows and columns in matrix. So this is the classic example of matrix. Now moving on to next example, and that is the transportation network. So let's assume we have 4 cities, C1, C2, C3 and C4. And we have to represent cost of traveling from one city to another city. So if we do not have concept like matrix, then how we are going to organize this data? Because it becomes very difficult to know that how much it costs to travel from C4 to C1, right? But with the help of matrix, we can organize all this data. And you can see here, I have organized all the cost in form of rows and columns, as in matrix. So now if I have to find that how much it costs to travel from city 2 to city 3, I can directly go to row 2 and column 3. And we get our answer, that is 30. So the cost of traveling from city 2 to city 3 is 30. So this is also one classic example of multidimensional arrays or matrix. So I hope this is clear to you. So guys, by now you understood what is matrix, what is multidimensional arrays, how to create matrix, how memory allocation works in matrix, and what are the applications of matrix. So on this note, let's end this video. So guys, if you learned something valuable out of this video, then hit the like button to make YouTube algorithm happy and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the bell icon so my friend you never miss any upcoming videos. So this is all from my side. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.